Is everybody okay to get started? Okay. Good morning. My name is Michael Gannon. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge for the Drug Enforcement Administration. And I want to take a minute to thank the media and our law enforcement today for coming. Our partners who are up here with us, Sheriff David Crafton, Henderson County Sheriff's Office. Detention Center Jailer Amy Brady, who's present. Amy. Fentanyl Narcotics Task Force Director Dave Thompson. Evansville Resident Office Resident Agent in Charge Adam Zirkelbuck. Adam. Good morning. Thank you. We have fentanyl and some recent cases that were indicted and arrests about a fentanyl overdose death and about a fentanyl overdose. And to get started, on February 9, 2022, a federal grand jury in the Western District of Kentucky had an indictment, and the individuals that were indicted are Destiny Varginson and Seth Stout. They were indicted for conspiracy and possession with intent to distribute fentanyl and alprazolam, which led to an overdose death of Tristan Fox. I'd like to extend my condolences to the Fox family and to anybody that's lost a loved one, especially lost a loved one because of a drug overdose or a fentanyl overdose. As a result of the indictment, on February 10th, 2022, Ms. Varginson and Mr. Stout were arrested, and they're being charged in the Western District of Kentucky. It's important for everybody to realize they've been arrested. They're presumed innocent until found guilty in a court of law. A little bit. It was conducted with the Fentanyl Narcotics Task Force and the DEA Evansville Resident Office. I want to thank everybody that worked this investigation and the long hours that were put into this investigation which led to the arrest. Thank you for the strong effort in doing what we need to do to hold people that are putting poison into our communities accountable. I mean, we talk about fentanyl. 50 times more potent. People are dying every day. 275 people a day on average are dying because of a drug overdose. And as a community, we can't stand for this. We have to understand that people that are putting that poison out there, they have to be held accountable. And it's important for people to understand how this synthetic opioid, I already said 50 times more powerful than heroin. The chemicals are coming from China, and they're mass produced in Mexico, the United States, in this area specifically, with millions of fentanyl pills, counterfeit pills that look at various prescription drugs. And what individuals that are going to sell these drugs have to understand, you sell them and someone can put the case together. Anybody that knows somebody that's involved with utilizing drugs, you have to educate them. You have to care about them. The community has to come together. Because without that, and have the problem go away, people need to have outreach to individuals, and they have to know full well if you're taking cocaine, if you're taking heroin, methamphetamine, prescription pills, they're laced with fentanyl. Drug dealers do not care what happens. All they care about is having the most highly addictive product so they can make money. So we have to know that, and we have to get that message out. The next case I want to talk about is the outstanding work that was done by the Henderson. One of the individuals, Corey Yvonne Outlaw, he was an inmate here who provided of fentanyl to another inmate by the name of Jeffrey First. He was found in his jail cell unresponsive. if it wasn't for the extraordinary effort here at the Henderson County Detention Center by the individuals working that day, Mr. Ferguson would have died of a drug overdose. They were had to have life-saving methods to prevent the overdose. As a result of these two cases, they're being charged with 3 defendants, and they're looking at 20 years to life in prison for these type of offenses. And it's just, we're not going to tolerate this as a community. People that are dealing drugs that are laced with fentanyl, you are destroying people, you are destroying families. And I've talked to hundreds of parents that have lost someone because of a drug overdose. It's devastating. It does not matter where you live, where you're from, how much money you make, what ethnicity you are, what race you are. It'll attack anybody in any family and bring people to their knees. We have to understand we need to do something about this. And I call on all members of the community to do something. And I always like to use a famous coach, that legendary basketball coach John Wooden once said, "You can't live a perfect day until you've done something for someone that can never repay you." And we need to have people, more people like that, that are willing to do that for people that they know are using drugs, and encourage them to get the necessary help that they need so we can beat this crisis that's going on in our country. You know, in the past year, DEA and our partners, we seized over 9.5 million counterfeit pills that contain fentanyl. And these pill that's been seized, our laboratories have revealed that it had a fatal dosage unit of fentanyl. This is serious stuff, and we need to come together to make sure that happens. So I'd like to thank you for your time, and if anyone else would like to words.
I'd be glad to. It wasn't, these aren't easy investigations. I believe according to the coroner's office, Bruce Farmer said that we had 9 deaths in Henderson County last year that were attributed to fentanyl. And we're able to make a case on these 2 cases because of the outstanding work that was done. Initially by the officers that responded to the scene first. They're the ones that recognized what they had. I think Captain McElfresh recovered evidence there at the jail that was vital to this investigation. The other case out in the county that the Sheriff's Department worked, Deputy Terry Harmon did the same thing, recognized what he had, documented the evidence and preserved it, and called in an investigator early on to begin the investigation. The investigation was done by Detective Bill Mills with Penn-Ryle Narcotics Task Force. Did an outstanding job. These aren't easy investigations, and I want to thank everybody involved for bringing this case to this point where we have some indictments of people being.
Very important words that everybody put forth to make this happen, and again, family for their loss. Is there any?
I know that this has been, like you said, a really big and prevalent issue in our region. I know we've all Evansville. How change happened?
Question, and probably make sure it's clear with your helping is simply noticing somebody that may have to get the necessary help that's out there, because when we walk it through, we know that the precursor chemicals are coming from China into Mexico, and they're mass produced in Mexico, and then they've been able to flood the United States with these pills. So they're there, they're in the United States, and they're all over the place. So our job is to try to get them off the street as quickly as we can, and that's what we focus on, and taking off the drug supplies. However, people still have these pills and they're still distributing them. So people need to really be educated and understand, if you are taking a prescription pill or from a reputable pharmacy and it was prescribed to you by a doctor, your life. Families need to educate everyone in their families, because it's a range from probably 18 to almost in the 40 range. So thank you for that question, excellent question. Anybody else?
If we need to be educated and we need to bring education to this region, I don't know if there's talks of kind of bringing this into schools, maybe like having programs for like younger people or even workshops for parents, things like that. I don't know.
You have those programs, and I think it's great to bring that stuff to schools. And just recently, back in October, County, which was Halloween, and we had a come out and pass out prevention material and candy to kids just to try to educate. And DEA has several programs and initiatives that are out there. Something that is free, web-based, that any parent, or coach or friend or some good advice on. It's called operationprevention.com, and like I said, it's through from 3rd grade materials for those respective ages and grades to educate yourself about the dangers of what happened. So absolutely, we have to keep nailing that and doing these type of events and have meetings and discussions. And great question, and it's important, but the community needs to understand.
About how emerged and evolved pill can kill you. It's fentanyl's laced in the water. When did you guys start to see that really become the mainstream problem that's killing people versus drugs that have always led?
Well, I can remember purposes. We were starting to seize, like, and you seize kilograms of with the opioid of a lot of people were dying, and then once you get hooked on and other means to the full advantage was, and it's been on the up, obviously, time frame.
As I understand.
Tristan Fox.
Okay. Revealing too much. I understand that there's privacy. Can you tell us a little bit more about them?
Oh, overdose.
The overdose, yeah.
Get into this specific. Take that, and you can put that in there. Stuff we were talking schools and everything like that. We've been getting out to colleges and other things and getting with the school newspapers and to do stories on that, because you need an Adderall or a Xanax, and you're self-prescribing these pills. They're flooding the market with all these counterfeit. That's kind of how that happens, and it's an unfortunate. They don't even know what they're taking, and they think they're taking something. How many families have we seen? Life's changed. Holiday because they lost a scary times with that, but just try to get that message out there.
Absolutely. And can you tell me a little bit more, and this may be a question for the sheriff too, how prevalent Henderson, I know you said there was a 9 overdose just last year.
I'm gonna defer to the captain here.
Basically, what we don't hear today is actually the numbers, and I don't know what those numbers are, but I can tell you it's a great number of people that actually overdose that are saved by first responders with the Narcan and such. What I could say when we talk about education, what I would like to see more of is more investigations like this. And this is just happening because now we're starting to understand, our first responders are starting to understand, when they go into a home and someone has OD'd, they are now looking for those things that we can use as evidence to take this. And this is just, I think we did one several months ago. It was one of the first arrests of this kind. So my plea to the community would be, when you have a family member that overdoses, to look for those things and contact us. And since we have done this with the DEA, we receive calls from all over, not just this community, but people now are calling us saying, we saw that you teamed up with the DEA and someone was held accountable for giving this person the drugs. It's happening everywhere, and there's plenty of numbers, and they're the ones that we're talking about today are the ones that we can hold someone accountable for.
Thank you. Yeah, and just to add to that, statistics through the CDC, it's over 100,000 people a year now dying of a drug overdose. So very, very severe numbers. And just some numbers up the road a little bit in Indianapolis, there was over 800 drug overdoses for 2021. I think it was about 626 were fentanyl related. So just numbers that are mind-boggling, but we need to come together as a community, and we need to educate. Anything else?
Maybe kind of just answer there that it happens everywhere, but do you see any reasons or explanations of why? I know you mentioned just kind of flooding with fentanyl pills in our area. Do you see any answers as to why specifically this part of the country, or is it just, as you mentioned, that it's just happening everywhere?
Well, it's happening in every state throughout the country. And as you know, this area has issues with methamphetamine as well, and that hasn't gone away. There's issues with methamphetamine. And I would just ask anybody that may have a chance to see the news today, if you're taking prescription medication, stop, go get help. And it's and seeing families that their hearts are broken because you made one mistake taking a drug that was. Please take that advice. That's all I have.